The reason why I say it's something loose is because it's not necessarily like you can build up your observations and those eventually become perceptions. To me, that's where we get the whole pattern recognition thing. It is sourced in observation, which I view as something that's a foundational thing, a more instinctual thing, because to me it's connected directly to the senses. But the reality is that you don't just have the senses that we express that we have. And that's where it gets very interesting. Let's name the senses. We have sight, we have touch, we have hearing. Don't laugh, because yes, I forget them. You know what? I'm gonna laugh for you. Y'all filling in, but you know what I'm talking about. And then you have these things that we talk about when we say, oh, that's like a sixth sense. But I don't think that there's just a sixth sense. I think that there's more senses than that. Because even when you think about sight, and that's why I say observation is foundational. And then it takes perception. No. It's something that helps you grow your perceptions. And then there's a word for what those perceptions can then grow into. You know how they talk about dimensions or levels to things? I think that there's levels to what it is that you see, but that's obvious. That's obvious because as humans, it's stated that we don't see a vast percentage of what it is that's actually around, what actually exists in this environment. And that even goes as far with sound. Like there's some sounds that you can't hear that other species can hear. Which is why I say observation, yeah, that's foundational. It's still instinctual. It's still instinctual to me. But I get the feeling that as I talk through this, there's things that I will become aware of. Excuse me. That I'll have to look more into. This is coming from a whole nother conversation. And I'm riding, conversation with myself. But I'm riding off of this wave for something. But anyways, like I was saying, because I was gonna connect the fact that I feel like, no. Let's double back, because my mind is moving faster than my fucking mouth. Well, I was explaining that sight and literally every sense that we have, that we've defined, that we've given certainty to us having. Everything, every sense within the human experience has levels to it. It has dimensions to it. And then when you tie in the spiritual essence, the spiritual knowing of all of those things as well, sight becomes something entirely different. And you can meaning make with each of your senses too. And some people have a more rooted, particular sense, a sense that they lead their life by. And essentially the conversation that I was having with myself before, a prominent theme in it was, okay, just the recognition that other people have a different way of processing than you do. So what it is that you understand, they may not understand, especially not in the same way that you understand it. And I was framing it through relationships that I was reflecting on, and the grief that comes from realizing that who it is that you've expressed yourself to be may not be who it is. It may not be what you expect from yourself or what you know with self. Now, that's a messy way to explain it. So let me better explain it, because I said the other stuff I'm about to say too. You may be somebody that's incredibly internally engaging. Let's use a conversation, for instance. You may be internally very active. And you know what? I'm speaking more so from my experience, not other people's experience. But other people obviously apply to this heavily, because that's what relationships are, though. They involve two people. And we know that we're not just people. We know that we have these auras surrounding us, essentially. And if you don't know that, if you don't believe that, okay, that's your belief. Aura, the vibrations. People come with their own resonance. Even the tone of my voice, the tone of your voice, the vibrations of those things are likely very different. Are likely very energetically different too. Energetically received. When you put two people who aren't necessarily the same, okay, it's not going to be, it may be like a fucking proton and electron. Or it may be like a proton and a proton. Some things attract and some things don't. And it's not even always about that. Sometimes it's about whether or not you and the people that you engage with can have a resonance, can create your own resonance, and have it be something that's maintained. And something that I personally have realized is that the main frame, the way that I go about relationships, or the role that I will enter, and that's another thing. I realize that it's not necessarily just about roles. It's never really about roles when you take something from a relationship and you really, 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 really fucking look at it. And look at yourself. And look at, okay, who you know yourself to be, but also look at who you don't know yourself to be. And that's where it's like you're looking in the mirror and you see yourself peeking around the corner. You see your shadow blending into the corner of the wall. And it's like, oh, damn, I never really noticed you. You're always just there. You're always there, but I forget that you're there. And I've become sounds so certain. But it's not I've become, it's more becoming or choosing to integrate that into my life a little bit more and actually pay attention to the damn thing. But this is how that, and me saying who you know yourself to be is not always who you're showing up as, though. I'm speaking from my experience, and I realize that I may be changing or shifting internally. People don't necessarily see that externally, especially if they don't know you, especially if you've grown comfortable. And I'm speaking to me, but I'm speaking to anybody else who grows comfortable with just listening in their relationships. Who you've grown comfortable to be is not something that allows things to sustain themselves when you decide that you want to change the way you're going about something. I'm speaking to the way that I personally will engage, question, be curious. Oh, there's so many questions, I tell you. So many questions. Understandings, realizations, considerations. Iteration. You know, like, it's a lot. And when you don't bring that to the other person, you contribute to the deadness of that. And this is not just about relationships, though. This is about everything, really. The framework is through relationships, and that's something that I find fun with me and my thinking. Because I may be heavily looking into something, I may be hawk-eyeing into a specific area, but really, it's not just that area. It's every area. But the reality is, with me, it comes through in relationships. It comes through that framework. Okay, voice, what's going on? It's coming through that framework because that's my framework. What that mean? Like, what you mean by that? I mean, I view myself as having a relationship with everything. And I'm sure I'll learn whether or not I want to subscribe to that notion or that understanding, or whether or not it actually is that and something else. I'm sure that will grow. You know, I may think with uncertainty or think based off of curiosity. That thinking is founded on what it is that I know, though. What it is that I've experienced. What it is that I recognize. The patterns that I recognize. I didn't need to say that. I wanted to. But I recognize that some may see that and think, actually, that don't matter. It matters, but that matters for the person to figure out, not me. But I was interrupted. My thought was interrupted, which halts the fresh ideas. Like it puts a dent into the stream of what I'm thinking and what I'm saying. So instead of trying to force something out, we're going to return to the beginning, which I recall being observation and perception. Even I recognize that this is perfectly fine to do. And perfectly to me is like, this is imperfectly fine because it's very human to do. This represents how people come to understandings of themselves and of others. And I started this by expressing, my understanding of something, but also recognizing the fact that I don't really... There's more discovery with what that is. Something is simple that could be turned in something complex and in depth as perception and observation. What you think about those two things? Like, for one, I'm already knowing this shows something about me to somebody else, but most importantly, myself. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It only deepens the relationship. And I think that's relevant to my bringing up that relationships are my framework. And it's not because it's not me talking about outer relationships, though. It's me talking about my relationship with myself, which has a natural impact on everything else. Everything else. Which really just connects to the fact that the idea, the concept of also one of my beliefs, which is that everything is connected. And you don't always know how it is that you're connected to something or someone, an idea, an item, a literal object, a body of water. It really don't fucking matter. It don't matter what it is, but it matters, you know? At least that's the understanding that I've come to. That's what I choose to appreciate as I navigate my relationship with uncertainty. There was something that I was speaking out before I started all of this. And I feel inclined to share what that was. And here's the reality of me sharing it too. It's not perfect. Actually, none of the things that I've made have been perfect. They've all just been very meaningful to me. They're always a way to begin something and watch it. Watch it do something. Like, kind of like the birth of a human. And the more that I birth, I'm using birth for the simple fact. And it's funny to me because I literally just did a poem of a sorts on birth. Me saying that I'm pregnant with an idea or a knowing. Using birth in that context rather than physical birth, energetic birth. But that's his own thing. And I do want to get back to this point. And I lost the point that I was making with that. And honestly, all I got to say to that is, this is my foundation, even though it's uncertain. Even though it spirals. I know me. I know how I think. I know how I process, so I understand it and I see it in my own way. Excuse me. So how somebody else is going to see it, I don't have control over that. That's another aspect of the relationship that we have with uncertainty. And I'm going to read to you my understanding of that. Now, another pause, because this is how I work. And if you don't like it, hey, what can we do? All I know is this is the truth of how I think. And I'm willing to create this space and let this exist outside of me now. Even if it's confusing. I got time to explain. I don't need to explain everything either. And one may think, oh, is this you? Is this not you explaining? Nah, this me in my element right now. This is what I said. Technically, we all have a relationship to uncertainty because there's a very cemented experience or theme of life. Doesn't matter necessarily what gifts or spiritual understanding you have when it comes to the human experience. Uncertainty is something that everybody will experience, especially if you believe that you're supposed to forget what it is that you came here for. You come in, you essentially leave the womb uncertain. Now, some do transition more certain than others, more aware or knowing than others, but that doesn't mean that you will never encounter uncertainty, which means that that's something that you should develop a relationship with, essentially, which means that is something worth watching when it comes to how you respond to it, or how you react to it, how you observe it, how you perceive it. And this is what led me to starting this about perception and observation. And these were my very, very fresh stream of thought, understandings, or just instant way to explain something in a way I was discovering, a concept that I was discovering as I kept thinking about it. I said, how you observe and how you perceive, because perception can change. Observations, I feel like or just observations in general, are very foundational. It's like the building blocks. It is something that you grow into when you develop as your own over time. And it's the same thing with perception. Perception and knowledge have their own relationship. These two things have relations with each other. But us as humans, we have relationships with them being abilities or aspects of ourselves. That's his own thing. And that could turn into something complex real quick, which is why I said it's something to explore more so I can explain it better and understand it better. But they have their own relationship. Observations and knowledge have their own relationships too, but what you see versus what you know, that's its own thing. Technically, perception and observation have a tied relationship as well. I'm going to need to explore a little bit more to find and really be able to talk about the cause, because I can't right now. My understanding, my instinctual understanding is, well, what I just said. Perception seems to be something more mental, something that has to do with consciousness more than observation, which can come from your senses. Like if you're talking about something, if you're talking about human instinct, I guess I would use the word observation rather than perception, yes. And then there's a whole lot of continuations. And then that's how we led into the beginning, which ultimately ties up the end. Because this doesn't really need to be an extended thing. I think more than any solo or specific theme that I've really covered over this whole thing with myself is that I feel inclined to record myself or record my thoughts via voice typing, because sometimes my mind is going faster than my body can scribe accurately, But I feel inclined to do this for the sake of sharing me with me, giving me a space outside of just me, even though it is really just me talking to me. But also, I understand the importance of sharing what it is that you, or aspects of who it is that you are. It doesn't have to be everything. It's never really everything with me. That don't make it any less meaningful, though, what it is that I do share. And also, universal information. I seen this video one time where there was this woman that I had seen before who was basically, I would love to know what her username is, because it's important to recognize people. But She does short films. If I find her after this, I will put her in the description bar. But she's gone in and out within her creative process. And also, from what I remember, but also, she's been intentional with how she communicates that to the people that she's speaking to, you know, other than the self that we often are proving things to, or doing things for, even if we think that we're doing them for other people. She was saying, or she made this video, I haven't watched it yet, but the title was, or the concept was, you haven't done it yet. Other people have done this. Oh, other people have done this, but you haven't done it. You haven't put your twist to it yet. And where I'm getting at with that is, there's that thought in my head, and I just said universal truth or understanding, right? Where I'm getting at is, okay, people may have actually said this before, and that aligns with the notion that energy is not created nor destroyed. It's transformed. It's alchemized. Or the notion that your thoughts are not your thoughts, or etc., etc. Like, I don't even want to fucking give an example for this, for real. That's just how I feel right now. But you, though, how are you expressing it? What are you doing to say it? What are you doing to contribute to the conversation? It's a conversation. I know for me, I have to have conversations with myself. I do it all the time. Probably way more than people would expect. And those that know me kind of know and have seen it. And, you know, that's its own thing. It can be funny being encountered in that way. It often is, but hey, keep going. Keep going with my conversations with myself, though. But no. But yes. Have you contributed to the conversation? It's a conversation. How I say it or how you say it may help somebody understand it, see it from themselves, recognize themselves, validate themselves, learn something, reflect on something. So that's an aspect that really does matter to me too. This goes with the I, the we and I, the us and I, the I am, the I am you. I'm not you. I'm like you. I'm having the same human experience. I'm having the same experience. Let's forget about the spiritual importance for a second. The aspect, the essence, the realm, that all matters. It does. I'm here, I'm breathing. I got my own rhythm to my breath. How I use it, well, that helps me, but it also will help somebody else. And that's part of the why for this long thought.